Alright, I was rambling on so much with the other video. I ran out of memory on the interior memory of the video, but this, when it's big, even though it's a bigger memory thing, it uses more memory, but it goes on the SD card, so that's why I'm recording here. Anyway, we were talking about the Birkat Hamazon HaKotzer, the abbreviated form of the grace after meals. That's what I was trying to get to when it got cut off. And I was mentioning in that video how Rav Yonatan Halevi, he was saying, and the guys who make these anonymous heretics exposed videos, they're saying that it's heretical for him to encourage people to say Birkat Hamazon HaKotzer, the abbreviated form of the grace after meals. And I was saying that we're both shared students, although we only really met this Rav in person each once or twice. We both are students of the same of the same rabbi. And I know this rabbi, who I'm not going to mention, but he said that his Rebbe, who I assume is Rabbi Yitzchak Abadi, told him that he should say the abbreviated form of the Birkat Hamazon. And for some reason, the Klenakep, the Amaratzim, who make these heretics exposed videos, think that there's something wrong to encourage people to say the Birkat Hamazon HaKotzer, the abbreviated form of Birkat Hamazon, which even really shouldn't be called HaKotzer, because that is Birkat Hamazon. And that's what I'm going to explain now. That the benching that we say, and I say the regular Hasidic Ashkenaz benching, the whole thing with all the harachmans, every time I bench. I recognize that I shouldn't. As Chatoy and Masker Ayom, that's one of the sins, many sins that I do, is that instead of saying the abbreviated form of Birkat Hamazon, I say the full form of the Birkat Hamazon. Because it says in Shulchan Aruch, Toiv ma'at b'kavana me'harbe b'lei kavana. It's better to say a little bit with kavana than to say a lot without kavana. But I have argued, and I think the Mishnah Berurah says that if you're not going to have kavana anyway, it's better to say a lot without kavana than a little without kavana. But if saying a lot is holding you back from the kavana, you should just say a little. That's clear. No one can argue that. That's the halacha. And so these people who are arguing, saying that Rabbi Halevi is an apikoros because he encourages saying the abbreviated form of the Birkat Hamazon, they're showing their ignorance, because the halacha is clear in Shulchan Aruch that it's better to say a little bit with kavana than a lot without kavana. That's the halacha. That's what Shulchan Aruch says. So, but I'm going to go deeper with this, because when it comes to, and this is what our Rebbe, our shared Rebbe said, and I was going to say that, Rabbi Halevi is a student also of Rav Yehuda Peretz, and Rav Aryeh Bar Tzadok is also a student of Rav Yehuda Peretz. Rav Aryeh Bar Tzadok is the age of our parents. So I guess, he was a student of his much earlier. But in any event, and Rav Aryeh Bar Tzadok, I know, also encouraged to say the abbreviated Birkat Hamazon. And the Ben Ish Chai brings it down to say the abbreviated Birkat Hamazon. At least women and children should do it. Should say the abbreviated Birkat Hamazon. And but this Rebbe of ours, who's a student of Rav Abadi, and I know Rav Ariel Bar Tzadok also respects Rav Yitzchak Abadi and his Piskei Halacha. But in any event, this question of the abbreviated Birkat Hamazon, there's also an abbreviated Shemona Esrei, Havinenu. So I remember our Rebbe, who I'm not going to mention, this Breslover rabbi, who was a student of Rabbi Yitzchak Abadi, he told us like this. He said, when it comes to the abbreviated version of the Shemona Esrei, the Havinenu, that is considered in halacha to be b'di'evet, to be post facto. It's not the ideal way. Meaning, you're supposed to recite 19 brachas of Shemona Esrei, but if for some reason you can't handle it, it's you're allowed to say only 7 brachas, meaning that those middle 11 brachas, 12 brachas, from Achronin Adas to Shmei Tefillah, can be abbreviated into one bracha, and you fulfill your obligation of Shemona Esrei saying that. But that's b'di'evet. That's not the best way, and even it says, Gemara says something that like a person is cursed if they do that. But again, when you're dealing with someone who's not davening at all, and they want to try to start davening, and it's maybe too much for them, it's certainly better to say Havinenu. You say the first 3 brachas and Havinenu and the last 3 brachas. It's better to do that than to not daven at all. But it's post facto. It's b'di'evet. When it comes to benching, though, we're still talking about 4 brachas. We're not talking about making the 4 brachas into one, although we have alamicha, me'en shalosh, that we take the 3 brachas into one. That's only when you eat mezonos or fruit or grape juice, wine. That's when you say the achas me'en shalosh. But stamazoi, with benching, you have 4 brachas, right? It would seem that this is the nusach of the Rambam that the Ben Ish Chai brings down. So a lot of people say, well, you can't mefalos nicht off the Rambam. You have to follow Shulchan Aruch, and not only Shulchan Aruch, but with the Achronim. So there you have the Ben Ish Chai. There's an Achron that everybody recognizes, for the most part, as being an appropriate poisik gadol. The Ben Ish Chai says the women and the children should say the Rambam's nusach of the Birkas Hamazon, and not the full nusach that's been embellished over the years. Meaning, historically speaking, the lechatchila, the ipso facto, the first place version of the Birkas Hamazon is the Rambam's Birkas Hamazon, is the one that they call the Birkas Hamazon HaKotzer, the abbreviated Birkas Hamazon. That's the real Birkas Hamazon. That's the real benching. And this that we do, that the brachas are longer, and you say all the harachmans and this and that, that's the b'di'evet one. But me, what can I do? I'm a chassid with a shtreimel. I'm not going to give up all the narishkeiten that the Chassidish Maises that we picked up over the years. I still maintain my Ashkenaz roots. And the thing is, most Sfardim also say an embellished form of the Birkas Hamazon. But the truth is, the real Birkas Hamazon is the Birkas Hamazon HaKotzer, and certainly, if the way that Rabbi Halevi is describing, that he has more kavanah saying the Rambam's Birkas Hamazon than saying the one that's printed in all the benchers now, then he is following the halacha. He's following Shulchan Aruch. And you idiots who make these videos, and you're going to call him an apikoris for following Shulchan Aruch, you've shown yourselves what amaratzim you are. I don't mean to be rude. I'm sorry. But it's true. I have to say the emes. It hurts me to say this because I don't like to call people idiots. I don't like to call people amaratzim. But, you want to call David Wolpe an apikoris? He's an apikoris. Everybody knows he's an apikoris. He doesn't claim to be anything but an apikoris. He's even, really, for the conservative movement, a little bit too radical. Although nowadays most of the conservative Lighter, there are a lot of apikorsim among them. They don't believe in terminal Shemayim. It's not like it used to be. And why is that? It's because of what Rabbi Levi is talking about. That we pushed people away to the point where, like he said, a person's Machal Shabbos is going to feel more comfortable with a quote-unquote rabbi who's Machal Shabbos is not a... you want to use the English word rabbi to be respectful, because I know a lot of people won't do that, but so for Moshe, who was a big kanoi in these type of things, fighting the Reform, the Conservative, he wrote in Hebrew or in Yiddish, Reish, Aleph, Beis, Yud, whatever, rabbi. He didn't say Rav, Rebbe, but he said rabbi in in English, an English word. So you want to call a Reform, the Conservative, a rabbi. All right, I know it's funny. You see the Hasidic Rebbes, they sign their name Hakotin, and it's the conservative rabbis who write Harav when they sign their names. But anyway, that's a different story. So, but there's a lot of arrogance and stuff with the conservative. But that was Rabbi Halevi's point. I mean, you're gonna have a rabbi who's Machal Shabbos. You're gonna have a rabbi who drives. Like I remember, we have behind our shul. Used to be an Orthodox shul, and now it became an egalitarian temple. And they have, years ago, they had women who were in the process of being ordained from serving as their rabbis, and it was one and then another, and they were both Shomer Shabbos. And then when they went on and got a better job somewhere else, they got this guy who they have now. It's just in the summer that's open, and he drives over an hour Shabbos morning. They have a place for him to sleep, and he drives Friday night and Shabbos morning. He could stay there. He doesn't. He drives in and out on Shabbos openly. That's what you're going to have for a rabbi? That's not how these things work. We try to be makar of everybody in our shul. You're welcome. We know you drove on Shabbos, whatever. You're still part of our family here. We don't judge you. And I remember there was one guy who he moved away since then, but he was a conservative rabbi, and he would sit next to a Satmar Chosid with a Streimel, a real not a noch gemachte, Baal Tshuva like me. I'm saying a real Satmar Chosid, like the real deal, and not a bum, a real Chanyokish Fruma Satmar Chosid, and they sat together. That only you see in our shul. It's the most beautiful thing. I'm not the Rav of the shul. I'm just assistant rabbi. But I'm saying this fellow, he moved away. But I'm saying he would, even though he was a rabbi in conservative stellars, he would only daven in our shul. He would never step foot in that temple. But anyway, and he would see him, and he would daven, and he'd kiss his tzitzis with such kavanah. And said, as a yid, it was a Shomer Shabbos, Maybe he didn't always cover his head. I would see him in ShopRite, and I was surprised, and I don't always cover my head if it's for Parnasa. I'm officiating at a ceremony for two non-Jews, a man and a woman only, of course. I'm not going to do a wedding for two men, and I'm not going to do an intermarriage. But all right, the halacha is you don't have to cover your head for Parnasa reasons. If you have a Parnasa reason, you're not covering your head. So anyway. But all day at work, they know I'm the rabbi. So I wear a baseball cap, I wear a yarmulke. I'm not embarrassed to wear a yarmulke. Just I remember my Zayda always wore a baseball cap. So is this, Anyway, I remember seeing in ShopRite this rabbi, and he didn't have a yarmulke on, didn't have a baseball cap on, nothing. I thought it was a little weird. He's a rabbi, It's and he's a conservative rabbi. I know the Reform, they don't cover their head, even in their temple they don't, but the conservative they usually do. And this is a guy who's a Shomer Shabbos. What is it? Whatever it is. Baruch Hashem, his kids became from, and that's the story. But anyway, the point that I'm saying here is that there's a tremendous. I feel really bad to call the people who made that video idiots, and I feel really bad to call them amaratzim, to call them ignoramuses, but that's what they are. I'm sorry. If you're gonna, it goes without saying, and the fact that you have to make a video about David Wolpe. Everybody knows David Wolpe's not Bikaris. But maybe I understand that in the Sephardic community in LA, there's problems that people go to him, and people are leaving the traditional Sephardic shuls and going to David Wolpe, to Temple Sinai. It's a big problem. And he does things that are Keneged Halacha, and he knows that they're Keneged Halacha, and he's not supposed to do them. So why did I leave the radio on? Anyway, you want to call me Apikoros, whatever. Nobody knows who I am, except a few of my good, fine Hasidim. So what? So you're giving me a little bit more attention. I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful for it. I did not dislike that video, and I did not report it. I'm very happy. You're giving me attention. It's obvious I like attention, but and I made my piece about why I disagree with what they said. But this with Rabbi Yonatan Halevi, if you're going to call him an apikoros for encouraging people to say the Rambam's benching, you're just showing what an idiot you are and what amaretz you are, what an ignoramus you are. And I feel bad because I don't want to say that, but it's true. So I'm sorry that I have to say it, but it's true. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. And if you're a person, certainly, who doesn't bench, you definitely should say the Rambam's benching. It's very short. You can say it in English. You have no excuse. If you do bench and taka, you have problem. And if you're not from a community that has a set way of benching, I will encourage also the Rambam's benching, which is called the short form of benching. But I'll admit I don't do it. I always say the full benching. I'm not so pious. And the thing is, how do I know I'm going to have kavanah even with the short benching? So although I remember in Yerushalayim, some of the real Yerushalayim, like the literature Yerushalmis with the Streimlach and the gold kapatas, the kaftanas, they didn't say harachmans on Shabbos. And I remember I saw the Niklishberger Rebbe from Muncie. We were together in Prague, and he benched, and he only said the harachman for Shabbos. He didn't say all the harachmans, but I say all the harachmans. Satmarov said all the harachmans. That's what I do. I'm probably wrong, but I'm doing because that's what I've adopted and been doing for 20 some odd years, almost 25 years, 23, 24 years. So that's my story. But I certainly promote the short version of Birkat Hamazon, and I remember someone when I first started in prison ministry. There's a guy, he brought his sitter with him. He wanted to bench after he ate into the mess hall, the chow hall, an inmate, and he said that the CO wrote him up and said, "You sure as hell don't need this book here, this and that." If he had on a little card the Birkas Hamazon HaKotzer, he wouldn't have to be so ostentatious. He could maybe even memorize it, whatever it is, and he wouldn't have to upset the guard in the federal prison. So there's that also. So there are other reasons, certainly you're working and you're taking time from somebody else's work. I remember they would tell us, I remember they told us in shul, the Rav said, you're working for somebody else. When you bench, you're only supposed to say the abbreviated form of benching, not say all the harachmans and everything. But don't tell your boss that. You should say with the harachmans. So which is it? Obviously, the halacha is the halacha. The halacha is you should say the short form. And probably should say it all the time. But we can clap al chait for saying long benching, right? We have to do some kind of avera to do tshuva on, right? Even though I do much worse averas. Sof kol sof. That's the That is the. But and we hope we do tshuva for those. But that's something we can also do tshuva on. You know, that's why we don't eat on Yom Kippur, so we don't bench and say the long benching. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.